Welcome, everyone. My name is Yosef. I am here to interview Aya during this half an hour session that we have. And we'll jump straight into it, Aya. We are 10 years into Ethereum's founding. And looking at the last 10 years, there's been a lot of growth and development in this space. But I'm curious to hear, what are the aspects of Ethereum do you feel are least understood by people who are joining the world, as well as people who have been around the space for a long time?
Maybe first of all, let me say, konnichiwa minasan. I should say something in Japanese. I am Miyaguchi from the Ethereum Foundation. To answer your question, Yosef, you brought up, what is the most biggest thing that are misunderstood in Ethereum? Maybe the first one is still a lot of people think the Ethereum Foundation is equal to Ethereum, which I have to correct many times, still keep doing it, is that what's special about Ethereum compared to most of the rest of things in this space is the Ethereum Foundation does not own, no one owns Ethereum. It's everyone's, and the EF is here to help support ecosystem, including core development and research, but also other ecosystem activities, and also the participation into the different layers, including if you want to help build platform of infrastructure of Ethereum, it's open, and then it's also open source project. And so there are many contributors in the world that are part of this work. You can be part of doing research, you can be part of actually coding the parts of infrastructure, but also you can be part of suggesting new ideas, editing the existing ideas, and also executing on it. So that open, permissionless participation, not just the technology of permissionless technologies, the part is also maybe not recognized or understood enough. Yeah.
Yeah. We talk a lot about decentralization as well, and it's a theme that keeps coming up a lot, and people might have different interpretations what it means. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on what has been the actual application of that concept in the development of Ethereum so far.
Yes, so I think that decentralization is kind of like meme, and then everyone is excited about it, but I think it's at the stage where we should think about what that means, right? It can be different from for me and for everyone else, but what I believe is decentralization is not just not just the technical part, but also not just part of technical part, meaning if you just use cryptocurrency or tokenize something, that doesn't mean things are decentralized.
Right.
But also there are a lot of things. Also, sometimes decentralized systems seem still far from the real issues. Mm-hmm. But recently, what happened with the U.S. airline systems?
Yep.
It's the example of the problem of relying on one centralized system. Thousands of flights were canceled because the system was relying on one company's system, right? And then, so this stuff happens on a smaller scale and bigger scale every single day. And so we have to really understand the deeper systemic issues than just the superficial issue. And then a lot of things it's hard to, just by being Web3, could mean many things now.
Yeah.
So I understand it can be confusing. For new people, maybe they can get lost or don't even see why this matters part.
Correct. And even, when we use centralized exchanges, when they say we, like people in the real world use centralized exchanges and use it for financial services. If we're not decentralized enough that it can be trusted, but it's also not regulated or protected, then we're actually worse off than using a bank at times, because there's no protection that you have behind you. And that takes us to also 10 years since the Mt. Gox hack. We're here in Japan, and you're very much involved in helping clean up that whole process. And we just love to hear some of your reflections of that existential period in time in the industry, and sort of how far we've come in this space since then.
Yes, so I haven't really been following everything recently, but we just got the news, the payout for the creditors finally happened from, maybe a lot of people don't know now, Mt. Gox. The hacking was a little bit longer, older than 10 years, but the bankruptcy happened around 10 years ago. And then a lot of people lost back in those days, Bitcoins, mostly Bitcoin. And I think around that time, everyone was, including myself, I was spending a lot of time. I was part of a business, but spending most of the time explaining, educating people in this country, also outside of Japan, because it was a scary thing, right? And then one thing that's actually, and also Ethereum within 10 years had, different challenges, including the DAO hack. And I think what's important is we need to, those tragedies happen, right? Especially when you're involved in this new innovation. What's important is we need to learn from the lesson. And then one problem, if we look at what's wrong with the Mt. Gox, the hacking is one thing, but also a lot of people actually left their assets, tokens, on an exchange, on a centralized exchange. And that's nothing to do with that part, it wasn't really decentralized, right? So even if you actually, you thought it was your coin, and it wasn't actually your coin, because you're not really, you were not really owning your private key when you put that in the centralized exchange. Mm-hmm. And then I think a lot of people did that because people didn't know how to own coins, right? And it's a lot scary for a regular person to own even crypto wallet, like a lot of asset on your wallet. So that is being solved now with the technology of account abstraction. And so how do we, so like looking back, learned lessons, and then technical advancements are trying to solve that. That's, I think, amazing improvements we're seeing now. We don't see a lot of those yet, but I think it's finally connecting to real issues in the world.
So with a lot of the infrastructure development now able to get us to a much better position than where we were with, in Mt. Gox times, what is still missing when it comes to educating? I know you have a passion for Ethereum in the real world, like taking these technologies and having them being used by real people. So what is still missing in terms of how to bridge that gap between real world use cases and the technology infrastructure that's still in development but has gone way ahead than where we were at the beginning?
Yeah. So I am a believer of education. I think education is the most important thing. If someone asks me, that's most important than anything else, I still believe so. So any new thing, new technology, new innovation has to come with education. I think it's otherwise, of course, things are not going to be built, but also things are not going to be built in the right way, right? So a lot of technical education, such as how to code solidity, like that type of educations are happening compared to 10 years ago. A lot of them are happening. And then EF doesn't do that on our own. There's Ethereum.org website that's doing an amazing job. We're supporting their work, but it's run by community people, and then also actual technical education happening at different universities, or there are many community organizers, including like Japanese community organizers that just were on the stage, giving a lot of great education. I think what's still lacking is new technical advancements are happening by core researchers or developers, and then what can be done now is very different from what could have, what was possible 10 years ago. And so a lot of people in the world still don't know what's possible with this technology in the first place, but also what's possible now compared to previous time. And then it's always a challenge because EF is not a company that owns Ethereum. We don't do marketing and biz dev and then going out there and then explain, we don't really sell Ethereum's business as business. So we are, but then there are a lot of community members out there. And so it is happening to some scale, but I think we need more of that education. But what do you think? You also, I should actually introduce you. Yosef is working on also focusing on education in Africa. And maybe you can share why or what you're doing.
Yeah, when you started with the concept that no one owns Ethereum, that's a very different fundamental to start with, meaning it's ours, it's everyone's. So education in that context means what are the things that I need to learn in order to leverage this technology, but build things that even the founders didn't imagine were possible to solve problems in different parts of the world. And I think when it comes to the African ecosystem, which is where I spend a lot of my time and energy supporting, is that the types of applications and uses for Ethereum, Web3 in general that we're looking to do is very different from what's happening here in Japan or in different parts of the developed world, where banks work, generally speaking, governments work, generally speaking. And so for us, the essence of Ethereum is not speculation. It is actually an infrastructure in which we can build new forms of finance, new forms of, like actually the fundamentals of our economic infrastructures. We're 1.4 billion people growing at the fastest pace that is out there. We're having to redesign what banking means from scratch because hundreds of millions of Africans are still unbanked, and that's potentially a good thing because you can build these things from scratch from different principles instead of having to unseat existing tools. So I think education to me means combining the world that actually has a need for what such an open infrastructure offers with also the people who are building and doing a lot of the research of that infrastructure, and for us to move together in quote-unquote partnership to solve real-world problems at a massive scale that takes us out of these speculative cycles in a world where we might have a whole economy running on Ethereum. Like, what would that world look like What would it look like to create new types of money, be it local stable coins or other forms of currencies, and forms of trust that we haven't seen before, right? So it's creating that foundation for that type of imagination and experimentation to happen, instead of just like, let's get everyone to use the existing DeFi protocols that we have, because DeFi at the moment is not built for the real person. It's built more for people who have been in the crypto as we know it for a long period of time.
It's also you said about like banking in Africa, and then that to solve that, just for example, just giving crypto to people in Africa. That's not. It looks like there are a lot of bit, short-term solutions out there. That's more happening now already. But then that's not solving the real systemic issues. There's always this, repeating the loop. I assume like you're feeling that watching the problems there, right?
Yeah, so a lot of times when we talk about emerging economies that have really structural issues, we tend to focus on, oh, okay, let's send money, or let's support, or like let's hire 1 or 2 people from that region. Like, those are nice things, but they're actually not getting to the roots of the challenges. I know even today earlier we're at the coffee shop, we're talking about how
Ethiopian coffee.
There's Ethiopian coffee in every Japanese coffee shop that I've been to so far.
And we pay attention to it because Yosef is from Ethiopia.
I'm from Ethiopia, yes.
We went there together last year with also Vitalik and others. But yeah, the Ethiopian coffee is very popular everywhere in the world. And then why is that the farmers there are not getting benefit from this? It's like if you think about that, the bottom of the problem is really, it has to be the system, something wrong with the system. So it's not just about, okay, let's just make the price higher, because there's a fundamental problem that, we were talking about how the country is lacking USD now.
Right.
And that's also the system issues, right? And then, this is exactly how the power of education, when I talk about power of education, we can't just talk about, here's a cryptocurrency, here's the tokens that you can just airdrop. And that type of education, I think is not happening enough. I think it's, so I hope to see that more. But also, when you educate people, like you are doing, like inclusiveness, like how do we include people who are in the problem, or also I don't think problems like Ethiopian problem is by drinking that coffee. In a way, I'm part of the problem. I don't think we should see it as, oh, that's a problem far away in Africa. It's actually a part of the problem. So it's like we're the one who is providing solution, and they're the one who is in the problem. That mindset needs to change, and that's why you're trying to include local people. They can build solutions on their own, and also I think our side. I don't know if it's our side, but all like other developed countries or other parts of the world should take it as our problem. Everything happening there, what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in Middle East, it's not their problem, it's our problem. So that's why we need to include everyone in the different, all different parts of education.
And I guess talking about that, I'd love to hear from you around some of the most interesting use cases that you're seeing around the world that are just giving us a bit of a hint of what is possible at scale in the world, beyond the existing types of applications we've seen. What are some of the real world use cases that you're excited about?
Yeah, so recently I made you can't say tweet anymore. How do you say it? Like post asking people what are the use cases, real world use cases that are, like a solving problem in the world. And we did that like 5 years ago and to the Ethereum community. And back in those days, there are not many. We couldn't really recognize many that are on Ethereum applications solving real-world issues. And then that's, looking back, that's reasonable because a lot of technology that are available now with Ethereum, in Ethereum, were not available back then. There were scalability solutions and privacy solutions. So now I was reading all their answers to my post, and then and also we've been doing some more research on what are the real world use cases that are available now, and it is exciting to see a lot of this. My question was, how do we connect problems with technology, right? And then that showing use cases and real examples is the best way to educate people. This is what's possible. And so we see a lot of different use cases. And then I specifically ask decentralized ID, voting, land registry, or those are because public infrastructure systems that, used to be built by governments, and then what are out there available. So those are something that some of the stuff are very exciting, and also a lot of solutions having new governance mechanism. That's also, there are a lot of great experiments happening. So everything is exciting, but I always get excited about, like, for example, decentralized ID systems are making a lot of progress in, for example, in Latin America. And Quark ID is already being implemented in Buenos Aires and also other cities in Mexico, and then they are trying to be more open system, meaning it's like Lego blocks. You can use part of someone has built because all the places have different requirements and different regulations, policies, and then you can use that, and you can fork the original idea or then edit, adjust it to fit into what you need. But I hope the core values of original ideas stay, but that type of activity is just not just one separate system. In collaboration, experimenting together in with teams in the world. That's the excitement and exciting part of Ethereum ecosystem, I think.
I couldn't help but notice from that list of answers that almost all the projects were based in emerging economies, which is very fascinating to see when you kind of touch on what are the real world applications. They tend to be in places that haven't gone too far being entrenched with one mode of operating, that there's room for a lot of types of experiments that can actually scale at a national level or a huge regional level that would be quite challenging when we're talking around trust, when we're talking around identity, or even the simplest financial applications. Which is an interesting pattern.
Yeah, so we at the Ethereum Foundation, we also intentionally do a lot of things in trying to bring DevCon, for example, like in emerging markets economies, or last time it was in Bogota. But and then I am passionate about it, and then I'm not really doing it because they're trying to be a nice person or anything. It's just I do think when there are problems, people need to solve. Otherwise, it's like the survival for their life, and that's why a lot of creativities, new ideas tend to make a lot more progress more quickly in those places. And I think that's why what I said about DID in Latin America, it's not an additional nice thing for them. It is necessity, because their original systems have failed, collapsed, and so they needed new solution long time ago, and then now they see, oh, we can build decentralized ID that's not rely on a government 100%, and so when something fails, people don't lose their identity, and that's the idea, and then they want to make progress on it. So that power and creativity and energy and creativity is something we need, Ethereum needs. So that's why I'm passionate about like empowering these people so that they can empower Ethereum.
Right. I really like what you said, that you're not going to these places just to be nice. And that deeply resonates with me because like it's in Ethereum ecosystem's best interest to dive deep into some of these complex challenges, societal challenges, where it's not just about the technology research, but it's actually around taking that and helping coordinate society in a meaningful way. And I think that's where the big prize is. Even just last point from the African ecosystem, like the number one value of crypto so far has been the US dollar stablecoin concept, just purely from helping the African economies integrate with the global economy. And when we had the last bear market, transaction volume has been growing in Africa while the rest of the world was in a bear market. And that's because even US dollars on centralized exchanges that are not made to be banks, they're made to be trading platforms, but we still use that because it was very utility driven. Yeah. So I think there's a lot more utility driven use cases that are possible when we lean towards where the biggest, meatiest problems are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think
Yeah, last thing, you kind of mentioned DEFCON.
Yes.
It's coming to Southeast Asia, and we'd just love to hear from you. What are the things you're most excited about, and any seeds you want to plant in the minds of both Japanese participants who'd be flying there, but also global Ethereum communities who will be showing up?
Yes, I hope everyone is excited about this upcoming DevCon in Bangkok.
Woohoo! We are.
But it is, so we are calling it as DevCon Southeast Asia instead of just one city name, because Bangkok is an amazing place and the community there is amazing, but also there are other communities around, and this is last time when DevCon happened in Bogota, all Latin America communities, we saw the ownership by them. They felt this is our thing, right? So I want to see that from the Asia, let's not just limit to Southeast Asia. And I'm already seeing some of the activities. This Pagoda group is getting together all these leaders in Asia, and it is exciting to see. I'm also, Asian.
Yes.
Exciting to see that normally quieter, shy, humble people are finally taking ownership of different activities, ecosystem building, and yeah, a lot more. And then also they're becoming part of the platform layer too. So I'm excited to see that. Well, also another way to participate in the ecosystem, because I just saw this announcement this morning. Ethereum.org is doing this translathon. I can't even pronounce it. They're giving their translations all into all different languages. I think it's 63 languages. Is really open source. Anyone can participate and then contribute to this, basically sharing knowledge and being part of education of Ethereum. And then they're giving up, doing this translation competition, prize, giving out prizes. So that might be something anyone can participate, and actually good way to learn about Ethereum.
Amazing. So Ethereum is for everyone. It's ours to make with and build our solutions with. Thank you so much for the work that you do with EF, and thanks for the time to have this conversation.
Thank you, EDCON, for having me here, and thank you, listeners, for listening to our talk, and then thank you, Joseph, for joining this conversation today.
Arigato.
It was arigato. 楽しかったね.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。
Hey, give another round of applause for Aya and Yosef. Yeah. Now, are you ready for the slide? No? She says no.
そうなんです。ここは降りていただかないと出られないんです。
Yeah, it's actually pretty high up. And usually there's a drum roll, and then you go, and there's a sound effect for the slide.
そうなんですよ。ドラムロールが鳴って、ちょっと可愛らしい音がピョってなって降りていくんですけど。
But
靴履いたままです。靴は履い
oh,
たままです。
shoes on? Oh, yeah, not Japanese style. Keep your shoes on.
どこ行っても脱ぐからね、日本はね。
But I think I could do a better sound effect, a custom sound effect, than what they're doing. Let me do a custom, super cool one for Aya.
ちょっとダニエルがですね、普段いつも可愛い音の効果音が鳴ってるんで、今回は宮口さんのためにちょっとかっこいい音でちょっと降りていただきたいと。
Super cool one. Drum roll, please. Uh-huh.
何ちゅう音出すのお前。ほら。しっかり面を抱いていただいて。
All right. Joseph, do you want a Daniel custom or do you want the sound people?
I'll do a Daniel custom.
Daniel custom?
ダ
Oh,
ニエルの音選びましたよ。
that's what I'm talking about.
はい。
Drum roll, please.
お、
Oh, oh.
ちょっと長めのあーんで降りていただきました。
Yeah. Thank you, thank you.
ありがとうございました。